Hey guys, welcome back to my Taylor Talks channel. Make sure that you guys click that like and subscribe button for some more Taylor Talks. Now today I want to talk about Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, and the new movie Uncharted, which is backed by Sony. Yeah, so a lot of critics have already watched this movie, and a lot of them are saying that this movie isn't terrible, but it's not the best. And we all know that the movie, if you're in the United States, is going to come out this weekend, which is great for Sony because they get to take advantage of the 4-day President's Day weekend, right? So now Sony has already projected that this movie will make $70 million plus worldwide. That's in the United States and overseas. In fact, they said the majority of the money that they'll be making will be from overseas, which is $40 million. Now, Sony has already gotten $22 million from last weekend's offshore start in 15 different markets. And in Russia and Spain, it ranked number 1. So it's off to a decent start. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what Uncharted is, it's not just some regular movie that Sony is putting out. It is a video game. Or it started off as a video game. It's a video game adaptation. Now, this game came out in 2007 on PlayStation 3. Yep, that's right. And I remember playing this game with my brothers. I might be dating myself, but PlayStation 3, this came out. This video game and the video games that came after it has gone on to be universally acclaimed and commercially successful. And they shipped more than 41 million units, which for a game to start off in 2007, I mean, that's killer awesome. Now, this is making it one of the best-selling video game franchises of all times. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what the video game is all about, the video game follows Nathan Drake. He is a treasure hunter, and he basically travels across the world to uncover different mysteries and find different treasures, all that. And it started off as like a single player game, and it just took off from there. And finally, the video game is hitting the big screen. Now, this movie has been in developmental stress for the past couple of years. It's gone through more than 4 directors. At one point in time, Mark Wahlberg was supposed to play Nathan Drake. Now he's playing Sully. So this movie has been in production since 2008. It's been in different studios' hands, but it just ended up with Sony, with Tom Holland, which is a dynamic duo in itself because Tom Holland also starred in one of their most lucrative franchises for Sony, which was Spider-Man. And Sony did have a partnership with Marvel, but basically majority of the production was Sony when it came to the Spider-Man movie. So they decided to put their eggs in Tom Holland again and produce this video game adaptation of Uncharted in hopes to not only create this one movie, but to create multiple movies as well. And I'll get into that later on in the video. Now, even though Uncharted is a video game adaptation, it's being marketed to a non-gaming audience, and it's looking for families to bring their kids and come watch this movie, which again is really smart because the whole world knows about Tom Holland because he plays Spider-Man. And so now Sony is marketing to families that have kids, and everybody wants to go see Tom Holland again in the theaters, and so they're banking on his name to make more money for them. And Sony spent about $120 million on the budget for this film. So they're really banking on, the heavyweight names, Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, Antonio Banderas, to kind of carry this movie along. Now, they did, again, already make $22 million over the weekend, and they're looking to make $70 million more this weekend. Now, this movie is being produced in partnership by PlayStation Productions. And this actually is the first film from PlayStation Productions, which is a studio formed by Sony. First time they're adapting its original game properties for film and television in partnership with Sony Pictures. So this is huge. This could either make or break PlayStation Productions, as this is its first feature film that they're putting out there to the world. with, of course, the help of Sony. But still, this is their experiment, and they're experimenting with one of PlayStation's biggest games, biggest critically acclaimed games of all time that was played on PlayStation. So they want to, hit it out the park. Now, as far as the reviews go, currently, as of right now, we all know how reviews fluctuate, but as of right now on Rotten Tomatoes, based off of 26 reviews, currently this movie has a 50% score, which 50%, it's not too bad and is not too good. Now, given that this is a new franchise, freshly built from PlayStation Productions, this score might scare them a little bit, given how they're really pushing for this, how they're really advertising this. But I don't think the reviews should be anything they should be scared of. We have all seen terrible movies with terrible Rotten Tomato scores get second movies, get sequels and prequels, even though they had terrible reviews, but the movie actually banked in money. So, of course, reviews are important, but at the end of the day, it's about the dollar. So, that being said, I think everyone is kind of holding their breath, trying to see how big of a movie this is actually going to be in the box office. Now, I do want to put this out there. Side note, I am a huge Tom Holland fan. I mean, I saw the movie The Impossible. That's one of the first pieces of work that people actually got to see him in, and then to see him transition from there to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, a lot of people thought that Tom Holland's first acting role was in the Captain America Civil War, but it actually wasn't. He actually had a few films underneath his belt by then. So, huge Tom Holland fan. I want to see him succeed. He's a really good actor. We've all seen it on screen. Now, a lot of people are saying that Tom Holland, he is essential to the MCU when it comes to, playing Spider-Man, and he brings in the money. In fact, the last Spider-Man movie has made over $1 billion. In fact, $1.8 billion, and is really getting close to the $2 billion mark. So, of course, Tom Holland, his name is attached to money when it comes to the MCU. But a lot of people are actually looking at the success of Uncharted and relating it to Tom Holland and his success. And they're saying Tom Holland can, of course, lead an MCU film, but can he lead a franchise outside of the MCU? Not only lead the franchise and do well in the movies and act and all that, but actually bring in the big bucks. Bring people to the movies, have them sit down and watch him. Can he be a box office success outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? That's what people want to know. Now, I know we shouldn't compare a lot, but let's look at Robert Downey Jr. I mean, he was the leader, and technically to a lot of people still is, the leader of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Iron Man technically started the MCU. It's debatable. His first Iron Man film, they were saying his salary was less than $500K. But the last movie that he did, which was Avengers Endgame, his salary was $75 million, and then he received back-end profit based off of the box office. So he made a lot inside the MCU, and that's because everybody wanted to go see him and, of course, the other characters in the MCU. But bottom line, Robert Downey Jr. brought people to the movie theaters, and that brought the Marvel Cinematic Universe money. Box office success back to back. Now, outside of the MCU, people are questioning how much Robert Downey Jr. is actually worth when it comes to doing movies outside of, playing Iron Man. We've seen Dr. Dolittle. That movie did not fare out well with a $251 million box office, which, is great. But the budget for this was $175 million. And the reviews for this was 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. So some were thinking that Dr. Dolittle was just a disaster film, which people couldn't grasp that because Robert Downey Jr. was leading this film. And Robert Downey Jr. brought in billions of dollars for the MCU. Back to my point about Tom Holland. A lot of people want to know, especially different studios that are eyeing Tom Holland for different roles. A lot of people just want to know, can he bring in the money outside of the MCU? Now, me being a fan for a while, I might have a biased opinion about this, but I think he can. I think that Uncharted will make a lot of money. I think that Tom Holland can lead a franchise. I think that he is a box office success and that whatever money he's demanding, he's worth, because there is a rumor going out that if Tom Holland were to sign on for any more Spider-Man movies, he would want $20 million. Which, in my opinion, given that the most recent movie is about to make $2 billion, I think that's a fair price. It's definitely debatable, so comment below if you think that Tom Holland is worth $20 million for a Spider-Man 4. But at the same time, I do want to play devil's advocate. Tom Holland hasn't really led a franchise outside of the MCU yet. This is his first time. And if this Uncharted movie does flop, if it doesn't bring in the money, if Uncharted and Sony and, PlayStation production decides to just cut off any sequels for Uncharted, does that mean that Tom Holland is a flop outside of the MCU? Possibly. Let's just play devil's advocate here. There are plenty of actors that are amazing. They can act their behind off. They can put people through so much emotions by watching them play a character. They are a master at their craft. You can say their name. People will revere them. Best of the best. But when it comes to box office success, the millions might not roll in. And that doesn't mean that they're a bad actor. It just means that they can't bring in people to see them. And at the end of the day, for someone who's new or kind of, newly leading a franchise, that's what they need. The production companies need someone who can bring people to the movies. They need that talent that will get the world excited to see them play a character on the big screen. That's what they're excited to, that's what they want in a leading actor. And again, I think Tom Holland is it. I think he can really carry this Uncharted movie into a franchise that will make sequel upon sequel upon sequel. I mean, Uncharted had multiple video games for PlayStation. So, I mean, this could be the start of something new. This can bring in a lot of money for Sony. And so now we're at the end game. They already made the movie. They produced it. They are broadcasting it to the world. They're advertising it. And in less than 3 days, this movie will be available to everyone, especially in the United States. So they're going to see if all of their hopes and dreams and time and efforts will pay off. That's what Sony and PlayStation Productions and even Tom Holland are waiting for. Can Tom Holland be a leading man outside of the MCU and bring in the big bucks? I think so. Now the whole world is about to find out this weekend. Now that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm excited to hear what you guys think. Do you guys think that Sony's projection of getting $70 million this weekend is actually going to happen? Do you think they're going to get this money this weekend? Do you think that Tom Holland is a leading man outside of the MCU? Do you think Uncharted was a good first choice for PlayStation Productions when it came to producing their first film. Let me know what you guys think. If you liked what you heard, if you learned something, make sure that you guys give this video a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe to get this video circulated and for some more Taylor Talks. And as I always say, stay safe. See ya.